with you, my love, my love, my love. Yeah, I like that, Dave, that's nice.
It is our final part of the evening. Thank you for sticking with us. So let's just launch back into it, shall we? Yeah, the hat's still here. I don't know, I sometimes miss the ratty-tatty hat that we used to bash about and then got so bashed about that we couldn't use it anymore. Them's the breaks. I've just been handed another drink, so all's well. Alison Belsham is up next, another VNATB favourite. In 2016, Alison Belsham won Bloody Scotland's Pitch Perfect event with her pitch for The Tattoo Thief. Ooh, and you can just see a little bit of it peeking out there. Anyway, this resulted in an agent and a book deal, and she hasn't looked back since. November sees the publication of The Embalmer, the final instalment of the Tattoo Thief trilogy. And now Alison is working very hard on a secret new project. I'm intrigued, but before I introduce Alison, I just want to show you what I'm drinking now because I just think this guy is super cool. I love him. Anyway, please raise your cans and or glasses to Alison Belsham.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Excellent. Okay. I'm going to make a kind of apology in advance because today I've driven 8 hours down from Edinburgh to the south coast, and I'm now dog sitting for my brother's huge dogs, and I have no control over them. So I'm just saying that in case they suddenly rear up in the background. Tonight I'm going to read you the opening part of The Embalmer, the third part of the Tattoo Thief trilogy. It's the first time I've read anything from it at all in public. It comes out on the 12th of November, so this is like a world exclusive first. How exciting, I hear you all say. If you're squeamish, you might want to mute. It's a bit gory, so that's just another warning for you. The Embalmer. Instructions for mummification. You will need 1 cadaver, 1 embalmer's board with at least 4 raised cross struts, 20 litres of date palm wine, 1 curved iron hook, small bowls and vessels, a large quantity of linen swabs, 1 obsidian blade, 4 canopic jars, 400 pounds of natron, a naturally occurring salt compound, frankincense and myrrh, 2 pedestals of equal height, 100 yards of good quality untreated linen, and 2 litres of tree resin. You may find that some of these items are difficult to procure. If you need to, use the closest alternative that presents itself, though it may be detrimental to the process. 1. Place the naked cadaver face up on the embalming board and wash the body with date palm wine. 2. Insert the iron hook into each nostril in turn. Use it to break through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone. Rotate the hook thoroughly throughout the cranial cavity to liquefy the brain. 3. Turn the cadaver over so the brain can drain out of the nostrils into a small bowl. 4. Attach strips of linen to the iron hook and use them to swab out the cranium until no more brain tissue can be retrieved. 5. Pour tree resin into the cranium via the nostrils. 6. Use the obsidian blade to make a 3-inch incision on the left side of the abdomen. 7. Remove the abdominal and thoracic organs: spleen, liver, kidneys, pancreas, gallbladder, intestines, lungs. Leave the heart in situ. 8. Pack the removed organs into the 4 canopic jars with natron. 9. Cleanse the abdominal cavity with palm wine and pack the space with linen-wrapped packages of natron, frankincense and myrrh. 10. Spread a deep layer of natron on the embalming board, filling the spaces between the cross struts. Lay the cadaver back on the top and cover it entirely with the remaining natron. 11. After 35 days at room temperature, the natron will have set hard like baked salt. Break it away from the cadaver, which will now be desiccated. 12. Rest the cadaver across the two pedestals, one at the head, one at the feet, and wrap it as tightly as possible in basket weave pattern. Fingers and toes should be individually wrapped. As you do this, paint the linen strips with the tree resin to ensure they stay in place. Include amulets and good luck tokens among the bandages. The mummified cadaver is now ready for interment. Chapter 1. The Embalmer. There's a man who believes he's immortal, or at least on his way to immortality. He's followed the instructions point by point. He's making his way along the sacred path so he can take his place among the gods. Ra, the sun god, Isis, the mother, Apophis, the great serpent, his god, the one he worships. If he succeeds in what he's doing, he'll become at one with Apophis. He'll become the living incarnation of the great serpent, and in death, he'll become immortal. The man stands in front of the altar and sighs. He extinguishes the candles with the softest touch of his fingers, relishing the burn to his mortal flesh, which he won't be needing for much longer. He bows his head and whispers the name of his god. Apophis, god of snakes, watch over me and protect me. He makes, sorry, the dog's making a noise now. I knew this would happen, sorry. He makes a soft hissing noise as he walks across the stone floor of the shrine to where the mummified woman lies, so beautifully wrapped in her casket. The night's work is ahead of him. With the sacrifice he's made, he'll announce his arrival to the world. A new god moving among them. He checks off the list. He checks off the list of what he'll need with the stub end of an ancient pencil. Small teeth marks pick the wood. He remembers chewing on it as he struggled with the homework all those years ago. He can still hear the other boys' laughter in his ears. He banishes the thought. There'll be no more laughter at his expense. Tonight he will announce his arrival by unveiling his creation. She'll be put on display for all the world to see, to admire. First he must move her to the loading bay, and then into the back of the van. The casket isn't heavy. The pale, voluptuous flesh of a month ago is gone, transformed by the mummification process into a dark, leathery hide stretched taut over her bones. Her pretty plump cheeks are now hollow, and her fat fingers have turned into claws. She's as light as a feather. He smiles. He hisses, pressing the two tips of his bitter-coated tongue against his bottom teeth. The journey to immortality has begun. It's just a matter of sacrificing the right people, in the right order, and a certain person last of all. My apologies for the accompaniment there.
Don't. I think everybody's really appreciated it, and would just love the sound effects. And I mean, it freaked me out a little bit at first, and then I remembered what it was. So thank you so much for joining us and for that exclusive. As you know, here at VNAT Beat, there we go. It's a real Zoom now. I do have a question. Can we say hello to the dogs? We just did. There you go. Are you going to be quiet now? Ah, that's how this works. Okay. Thank you so much, Alison. Okay. I have a feeling that Alison may kill that dog in her next book for revenge. She can talk to Suzy Aspley about it. That has really just done for me. Okay, next up is Katrina Ward, who wrote the August Derleth Prize-winning novels Raw Blood and Little Eve. Ooh! Little Eve also won the 2019 Shirley Jackson Award. Ooh! And Stephen King, yes, the Stephen King, said of her upcoming gothic thriller, The Last House on Needless Street, that he was blown away. Haven't read anything this exciting since Gone Girl. I don't even think I've got a woo loud enough, but woo! Everyone, Katrina Ward.
Hi, thank you so much. Yes, so I'm going to read from The Last House on Needless Street, which comes out in March 2021 from Viper Books. I don't think you need to know too much. I'm going to just read just the beginning. It's set, it's about a lonely man who lives on the last house, in the last house on Needless Street, in the sort of on the edge of the Pacific Northwest forests in Washington State, near the wilds, with his daughter Lauren and his very even stranger, even more disapproving cat Olivia, and children have been disappearing in the neighborhood. And when eventually Ted's own daughter disappears, things turn to terror. I'm going to read from the screen because we just got the final edit in today, so I don't have the final version in paper format. So, The Last House on Needless Street. Ted Bannerman. Today is the anniversary of Little Girl with Popsicle. It happened by the lake 11 years ago. She was there, and then she wasn't. So it's already a bad day when I discover that there is a murderer among us. Olivia lands heavily on my stomach first thing, making high-pitched sounds like clockwork. If there's anything better than a cat on the bed, I don't know about it. I fuss over her because when Lauren arrives later, she will vanish. My daughter and my cat won't be in the same room. I'm up, I say. It's your turn to make breakfast. She looks at me with those yellow-green eyes and then pads away. She finds a disk of sun, flings herself down and blinks in my direction. Cats don't get jokes. I fetched the newspaper from the front step. I like the local because it has a rare bird alert. You can write in if you see something special like a northern flicker or a Siberian accent, or even this early, the dim air is warm as soup. The street feels even quieter than usual, hushed, like it's remembering. When I see the front page, my stomach goes into curls and knots. There she is. I forgot it was today. I'm not so good with time. They always use the same picture. Her eyes are big in the shadow of her hat brim, the fingers clenched on the stick as if she thinks someone might take it away from her. Her hair lies wet and sheeny on her skull, short as a boy's. She has been swimming, but no one is wrapping her in a fluffy towel to dry her, and I don't like that. She might catch cold. They don't print the other picture, the one of me. They got in big trouble for that, though not big enough, if you ask me. She was 6. Everyone was upset. We have a problem with that around here, especially by the lake. So things happened fast. The police searched the houses of everyone in the county who might hurt children. I wasn't allowed to wait inside while they did it, so I stood out on the steps. It was summer, bright and hot as the surface of a star. My skin burned slowly as the afternoon wore on. I listened as they pushed back the ugly blue rug in the living room, tore up the floorboards and knocked a hole in the wall in the back of my closet because they thought it sounded hollow. Dogs went all over my yard, my bedroom, everything. I knew what kind of dogs they were. They had the white trees of death in their eyes. A thin man with a camera came and took pictures as I stood there. I didn't think to stop him. No picture, no story, he said to me as he left. I didn't know what that meant, but he waved goodbye in a cheerful way, so I waved back. What is it, Mr. Bannerman? The woman detective looked like a possum. Very tired. Nothing. I was shaking. Got to be quiet, little Teddy. My teeth made little clicks like I was cold, but I was so hot. You were yelling my name, and the word green, I believe. I must have been thinking about this story I made up when I was a kid about the lost boys who turned into green things at the lake. She gave me a look. I knew that look well. I got that look all the time. I held tight to the trunk of the little oak in the front yard. The tree lent me its strength. Was there something to tell? If so, it hovered just over the edge of my thoughts. Mr. Bannerman, is this your only residence? No other property around here? No hunting cabin? Nothing like that? She wiped sweat off her top lip, and care pressed down on her, like an anvil on her back. No, I said. No, 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 no. She wouldn't understand about the weekend place. The police went away in the end. They had to, because I was at the 7-Eleven all afternoon and everyone says so. The security tape says so. What I used to do there was I used to sit outside on the sidewalk by the sliding doors, and when they parted with a whoosh and released people in a blast of cold air, I asked for candy. Sometimes, if they had it, they gave it to me, and sometimes they even bought it for me. Mommy would have been ashamed if she knew, but I loved candy so much I never went near the lake. I never went near the girl with the popsicle. When they finally finished and let me back in the house, I could smell them all over. Traces of cologne, sweat, squeaky rubber, and chemicals. I was upset that they'd seen my precious things, like the picture of Mommy and Daddy. The photograph was fading. Even then, their features growing pale. They were leaving me, vanishing into the white. And then there was the broken music box on the mantel, which Mommy brought from her faraway home. The music box didn't play because I broke it the same day I smashed the Russian dolls, the day of the thing with the mouse. The little ballerina was snapped from her stem, felled and dead. Maybe I felt worst about her. I call her Eloise. I don't know why. She just looks like an Eloise. I heard Mommy's beautiful voice in my ear. You take everything from me, Theodore. Take, take, take. These people had looked at all my stuff with their eyes and thoughts, and the house didn't feel like mine anymore. I closed my eyes and I breathed deeply to calm myself. When I opened them again, the Russian doll smiled fatly back. Beside her sat the music box. Eloise the ballerina stood proud and upright, arms perfect and poised above her head. Mommy and Daddy smiled down from the photograph, and my beautiful orange rug was like soft pills underfoot, and I felt better. Right away. Everything was okay. I was home. Olivia's head butted my palm. I laughed and picked her up. That made me feel even better. But overhead, in the attic, the green boys stirred. The next day, I was in the newspaper. The headline was, "Suspect's house searched," and there I was, standing in front of the house. They searched other houses, but the article made it sound like it was just mine, and I guess those people were smart enough to cover their faces. No picture, no story. They put my photograph right alongside the one of little girl with popsicle, which was a story in itself. The picture didn't show the name of the street, but people must have recognized it, I guess. Rocks and brick came through the windows. So many. As soon as I replaced a pane, another rock came through, and I felt like I was going crazy. It happened so many times that I gave up and nailed plywood over the windows. It slowed them down. Not as much fun throwing rocks when there's nothing to break. I stopped going out during the day. That was a bad time. I put little girl with popsicle, the newspaper with her picture on it, in the closet under the stairs. I bend down to put it at the bottom of the pile, and it's then that I see it on a shelf, half hidden behind the tower of newsprint, the tape recorder. I recognize it immediately. It's Mommy's. I take the machine off the shelf. Touching it makes me feel strange, like someone's whispering nearby, just below the level of my hearing. There's a tape already in the machine, part used. About half of one side has been recorded. It's old, with a striped yellow and black label. Her faded formal handwriting. Notes. I don't listen to the tape. I know what's on it. She always spoke her notes aloud. Her voice had a slight hitch around the consonants. She couldn't quite get rid of it. You could hear the sea in her voice. She was born far away under a dark star. I think just leave it there. Forget it. I ate a pickle, and now I feel a lot better. After all, that stuff happened a long time ago. The light is growing, and it's going to be a beautiful day. The birds will be arriving. Each morning they pour out of the forest and descend on my backyard. Yellow throats, kinglets, buntings, red crossbills, sparrows, blackbirds, city pigeons. It's crowded and beautiful. I love to watch it. I made the peephole just the right size, in just the right place in the plywood, so I can see the whole backyard. I make sure the feeders are always full up and that there's water. Birds can suffer in this hot weather. I'm about to look out like I do every day when my stomach lurches. Something in my insides knows things before my mind does. This is wrong. The morning is too quiet. I tell myself not to be weird. Take a deep breath and put my eye to the hole. I see the jay first. He lies in the dead center of the lawn. His bright mess of feathers shine like an oil slick, twitching. One long wing strokes the air, desperate for flight. They look weird when they're grounded, birds. They're not meant to stay put for long. My hands shake as I turn the keys in the big 3 locks on the back door. Thunk, thunk, thunk. Even now I take a moment to lock it behind me. The birds lie all over the yard, scattered on the parched grass. They twitch, caught helpless on what looks like pieces of tan paper. Many are dead, maybe 20. Some are not. I count 7 hearts still beating. They gasp. Their narrow black tongues are stiff with pain. My mind runs like ants everywhere. It takes me 3 breaths to make sense of what I see. In the night, someone went to each feeding place and put glue traps down, wrapped them around the wire cages, attached them to the balls that hang from the string, and when the birds came to feed in the dawn, their beaks and feet stuck to the adhesive. All I can think is murder, murder, murder. Who would do this to the birds?
Thank you so much for that, Catriona. Okay, to our penultimate reader of the evening. Are you still doing the drum rolls? I hope so. I thought I could hear something in the distance. I don't know why I did it. Okay, it is Laura Purcell. Laura Purcell is a former bookseller. Her first Gothic novel, The Silent Companions, there it is, was described as terrific and chilling by the Woman in Black author Susan Hill. Ooh! It went on to win the 2018 W.H. Smith Thumping Good Read Award. Ooh! So, our penultimate speaker this evening is the lovely Laura Purcell.
Hello, can you hear me now? Am I unmuted? Brilliant, lovely. Well, I'm delighted to be sharing a sneak peek of my new book today, The Shape of Darkness, which is out in January, and you're going to be the very first people hearing it read. The story is about Agnes, who's a silhouette artist in Victorian Bath, and her clients are being murdered in mysterious ways. The police have no clues, so she enlists the help of 2 spirit mediums, Pearl and Myrtle, to contact the dead and find out exactly what happened to them. But together, the 3 women seem to unleash something beyond their control. So I've got 2 short readings. The first sees Pearl, the medium, performing one of her seances and coming to grips with her power. Slowly, slowly, Pearl eases the curtain aside and steps out into the darkness. There's always that little shock, the intake of breath when the mourners see her. But today, respect mingles with their awe. She has the power. They can see it flowing from her in waves. Beside her, they're desolate things, pinched and tear-stained, their clothes blending into the false night of the parlour. She takes her seat. No one can see how her knees tremble beneath the tablecloth. Gingerly, the women stretch out their fingers and clasp hers. We'll begin with a hymn. Myrtle insists upon this, says hymns help to convince people they aren't taking part in something sacrilegious. Pearl doesn't join in, but sits, staring into the crystal ball. She's always thought it cruel to make mourners sing. If there's one thing she understands about grief, it's how it chokes, the fingers of death squeezing throats of the living. At last, the hymn ends. The air grows taut. What now? Remembering Myrtle's instructions, Pearl releases the mourner's hands and takes up the gentleman's glove upon the table. Her vision is clouding, as if she's gazing through fog. She opens her mouth and exhales. A luminous ribbon flows out of it, drawing gasps. Her pulse goes wild. This has never happened before. The ghosts are coming. Her arms are glowing, her breath is glowing. She's being swallowed. Myrtle says, "He's here." Something whispers, soft in her ear. Then cool, feathery hands touch her, dozens of them stroking her hair, patting her arms. She wants to scream, but there's a buzzing sensation in her jaw, holding it shut. A figure rises up from the mist. He's trading garments and has candle flames for eyes. Can Myrtle see him too? She doesn't know. The others are invisible to her, and she's alone in the dark with this thing. The spirit parts his lips, revealing a great void. Pearl can't take any more. Her mind pulls the shutters down. So that's Pearl's side of the book. But since it's Halloween special, I've got another excerpt for you from the point of view of the silhouette artist, Agnes, as she faces the consequences of dabbling with the occult. Something has happened. Agnes felt it the minute the crystal ball cracked. She does not know if Pearl has unleashed some dark entity in her distress, or whether this is the presence she has sensed building for so long, the one that follows her through the streets, teasing closer and closer at every séance. But it is here now. She sits in her studio, hugging the book of duplicates to her chest. The Abbey bells throb, strong as a pulse, through the magpies chitter and cackle. One by one, the framed silhouettes drop from the wall to crash beside her feet. Bronzework, painting on wax, hollow cuts. No visible hand touches them. For years they've hung there, undisturbed, but now they smash on the floor and hatch as the profiles break free of their glass. There is a slow malevolence to the destruction. First one frame, then the next, each dislodged without a hurry. Whatever it is, it's working its way towards the centre of the room. A trio of silhouettes, painted in vermilion, hang directly in front of her chair. The frame to the left of them goes down, then the one to the right, thud, crack, until only the three profiles remain. A man wearing a peruke, and two ladies with feathers in their hats. Agnes stares at them, her agitated brain trying to find meaning. There is no obvious connection between them other than their orange-red colour. She cranes back in her chair as the oval frames start to tremble, but they do not fall. Instead, the one of a man in the centre seems to melt. Livid drips trickle down the wall, slowly at first, and then they are streaking, gory, splattering onto her desk with the iron scent of blood. She surges to her feet, head rushing, and hurries from the room. Dusk is blooming outside, but still the Abbey bells toll on and on, relentless. The shadows of the banisters waver across the landing like the bars of a cage. A female shadow flits behind them. It does not look like her own. That's all from me. Back to you, Vic. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that. And there's lovely Laura proving that she might write very creepy things, but she is an absolute delight to work with. So thank you very much. Our final reader, there's one left in the hat. Here it comes. Who could it be? Matt Wesolowski. Hooray! Matt Wesolowski is an author from Newcastle upon Tyne. His 6 stories series combine crime and horror in the form of a podcast and are published by Arenda Books. Matt's debut novel has been optioned by a major Hollywood studio, and his third book in the series, Changeling, was longlisted for the Theakston's Old Peculier Crime Novel of the Year in 2019. Ooh. Matt's latest book, Beast, won the 2020 Amazon Publishing Award for Best Independent Voice. I'm reading this at the moment on my Kindle at bedtime, and I've got to be honest, last night I read under the covers so that I can just hide the light from my husband, and I was frightened to bring my head out of the covers last night because I was so spooked. I'm not even lying, that's the saddest thing ever. Book 5 in the series, Deity, will be released in December, and I believe Matt is going to be reading an exclusive for us this evening, along with several other fantastic exclusives. The book is called Deity, not, as I put on Twitter last week, Deity. So everybody, our final reader of the evening, the lovely Matt Wesolowski.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Fantastic. And thank you for everyone who's waited till the bitter end to then have to listen to me. So well done. Here we go. So I'm going to be reading from Deity, and this is a complete exclusive. Deity is about the mysterious death of an enigmatic pop megastar, and the questions that we're asked when we elevate someone like that to the position of a god, and when they're gone, what did we turn a blind eye to, and more importantly, why? Just a quick warning, this extract contains moderate threat and a single naughty word. So there you go. And I'm going to be reading an extract from a Deprav blog, which is like a blog site for cool young people, which was hard to write. Deprav blog. Why is no one talking about that Crystal Forest video? It's almost pitch black, save for a single yellow light. That light is bouncing all over the place, being swallowed occasionally, then spat back out again by the dark. This goes on for the first 10 seconds or so. Bouncing light, heavy breathing, and darkness. There's sound too. It might be rain. There's crushing footsteps, inaudible voices, and behind it all, a buzzing cloud of interference and static. Eventually, the picture starts coming into focus, like eyes getting used to the night, greens and greys all blurring into a kaleidoscopic sludge. About 30 seconds in, the yellow light becomes still and the rain sound quietens. All that is left is ragged breathing, sobbing. With the phone not moving anymore, it starts to become clear where we are. It's dark, a more consistent darkness than before. That yellow light now illuminates what looks like stone, a ragged wall. The light is coming from a torch. The torch sits between the knees of a figure, a girl, slumped at the base of the stone wall. Sodden hair hangs over her face. Her trousers are torn. Blackened with mud all the way to the knees, she shifts in and out of focus like a ghost. There's silence for a moment, as if the slumped figure and the person filming her are holding their breaths. Then the noise comes. The sound that however many times I see this video brings me to my knees. The sound that makes me wake in the night and tell myself it's just someone outside, my mind distorting the wind that creeps through the cracks in my walls of my flat. A bottle against the pavement, just someone putting out their bins, foxes screaming out their terrible mating cries. The noise on that video is an inhuman screech, a truncated howl that distorts, then falls into sudden silence. A blast of pure, savage hate. The girl on the floor folds into herself and the camera shakes, either with cold or with fear or with both. Then the crying starts. Both the girl and whoever is holding the phone, another girl, it sounds like, begin to sob, like children waking from a nightmare to find that no one is coming to save them. Maybe that sound is worse than the scream. I was initially asked by Deprav to write a blog post about being a former Zach Crystal fan. Remember when Zach Crystal was your idol too? Remember when you had his posters on your wall? We all did. We all had that MySpace background too. Don't pretend you didn't, because I'm big enough to admit it, and so should you be. Imagine going to your friend's house after school today, going up to their bedroom and seeing posters of Zach Crystal now. How would you feel about that friend? We all know what Zach Crystal was. At least we think we do. We all know his songs. They're all still there on Spotify, aren't they? But who's listening anymore? Who would dare to say they're still a fan? Even those "I can separate the music from the man" types are mostly silent now. What else can you say about him? What angle are you supposed to take? I was looking for just that angle when I fell down a Zach Crystal wormhole and found the video I've just described. Lulu Copeland and Jessica Morton Crystal Forest video. I never want to see it again. The sobbing continues for 10 more agonizing seconds. The camera shakes and we see a glimpse of feet, wrecked trainers, mud. What no one wants to hear is that scream again, that terrible sound. Outside the cave, the blackness turns to streaks of blue and green and endless sodden forest. It's for my mum. It's for my mum, the girl, Lulu or Jessica, it's not clear, keeps repeating through ragged breaths. Mum, this is for you. If you're out there. What does she mean? Has she some hope her mother will emerge from somewhere in the 500 acres of tangled and treacherous woodland where Zach Crystal built a hideaway, guarded by electric fences, dogs and cameras? There's a scraping noise, a gasp. The girl with the phone turns around for a moment, a sickening lurch of perspective. For a second, we see sodden clothes, lank hair and breath condensing in freezing clouds. Lulu, or Jessica, hair plastered over her face, clothes torn and wet, walks toward the phone. Knees at funny angles, her movements stiff like a marionette. It's awful, like something out of one of those old found footage horror movies. Both girls are breathing hard and you can hear their teeth chattering. Is it still out there? Lulu or Jessica says, and the light from the torch bounces all over the cave walls. You want to tell them to stop, to stay still. If they've got a phone, why haven't they called the police? Nevertheless, you can't stop watching as they reach the mouth of the cave and point the phone into the darkness. All you can see is that brutal Monet mess of black and brown and green, uneven rows of trees, ferns that stand almost shoulder height, a sodden broken branch, a coil of brambles. There's no path, no light, no signposts, just the steady hiss of rain. There's a noise, and both girls scream. It's not that terrible, inhuman howl from before, but the sound of crashing, of something moving through the forest. It sounds horribly close. The phone moves about a little, down to the floor, and with a trembling hand back up to face the forest. The girls are moaning, little involuntary noises that burn all the way to the bottom of your heart. There's something else too. At first it sounds like breathing, stabby little breaths, panting like a dog. Eat, it seems to say, eat, eat, eat. We're not scared of you, one of them whispers back through chattering teeth. She sounds 6, a terrified little girl. There's nothing convincing in those words though, and they're swallowed up by the sodden blackness up ahead. Stillness for a beat. Even the rain appears to hold off. Then there's movement, a terrible shadow that could be wind, a branch, a bush, a twisted and pixelated bit of interference on an old camera phone wielded by a terrified teenage girl. To me, it looks big. To me, it looks animal rather than human. Whatever it is, be it an effect of the wind, the weather, or something else, the last words of that video are spoken in a terrified whisper. Turn the fucking torch off. Turn it off. That's where the video ends. Thank you.
Just that little thank you. Thank you so much for that. As always, another person that we've hosted in Newcastle before, and it is always a joy to see you and work with you. So thank you for being our final reader tonight.
Thank you for having me, Vic, and thank you to everyone involved, and thank you to everyone for staying and listening, all the wonderful writers.
Yes, and that brings me on quite lovely to just thank everybody who's been here tonight. So thanks to Ramsey Campbell, CJ Tudor, Matt Wesolowski, Max Seeck, CJ Cooper, Vanessa Savage, Suzy Aspley, Ian Skewis, Laura Purcell, Alison Belsham, Catriona Ward and Ian Rankin. Thank you all for being with us tonight, whether it's your first time at the virtual bar or your 24th. Thank you very much. There are far too many nominations for Quote of the Week, so I will have a look through those and get them up on Twitter as soon as possible, but do go on to vote. I'll try and get them done as soon as possible. Thank you to Jason Isaacs for the music, as always, and to Nikki Black for being our chat bouncer. And thank you again for not giving her any work to do so she could just sit back and enjoy those readings. Massive thanks to our very own Wizard of Noir, Simon Buick, see what I did there, for doing all the hard work behind the scenes. And I really mean that. I just turn up here and dick about for a couple of hours. He's the mastermind behind it. We will be back on the 16th of December, so be sure to keep an eye out for information nearer the time. It'll be on @VNatB1 on Twitter, as well as some very exciting news coming in the next few days. So please do follow us and keep your eyes peeled. Remember, to be entered into the draw to win a free book or some VNatB merch, please fill in the survey at the end of this event. It will only take a minute, and then you can go off and try to sleep, because after those readings, I don't think I'm going to manage it. Thank you again, everybody, and we will see you again on the 16th of December. Night, night.